It's recording.
Oh.
It's recording.
Got it.
Right.
Awesome.
This meeting recording. Don't believe meeting.
Hey.
Hey.
I see everybody. Oh, good to see all of your smiling faces.
Yes.
Yes.
Sweaty faces, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. So like I mentioned earlier, I just had a jalapeno incident. I gutted out a bunch of jalapenos and washed my hands twice, and then apparently that's not enough. And I touched my face, and yeah.
Well,
Okay. Well, I'm really glad that you guys got to join us today and that we get to talk about this movie. I'm really excited to hear about it and you guys' experience making it.
thank you.
So, if you guys want to just kind of go through and introduce yourselves and then maybe a little bit about the character you played or the part that you had in making the movie.
I'm Danny Zanilotti. I'm the writer, the director, and one of the actors. I play Jacob Bixler. My character is probably, I think, one of the most withdrawn from counseling. He's kind of there because he has to be. But each one of us go into a monologue that tells, something deep, dark secret. And this is basically, it follows 4 veterans as they embark on experimental counseling session.
Okay.
Is it all actual stuff that happened to a person, Danny, or is it,
Yeah, some of the stories were donated. All of them had to be switched up. I didn't use real names because I didn't ask for permission. Some of the stories actually happened in Desert Storm, but I wanted to leave that out. I want to make it more to a conflict that people can relate to. But the events are all real. It's just the stories were changed up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
I play Kristen, and the story, my story, Kristen's story is definitely a real story. And Danny shared the gentleman whose story my monologue is based from. He shared that video of that gentleman talking about that story, and it was very moving and emotional to see him talking about it. But it was very helpful for me because I know nothing about the military, anything, and I was I just kind of felt really out of the loop and not really sure if I would be able to pull this part off. Being that I personally don't have any experience with anything like this, but seeing that video, because Danny shared that video with me, was extremely helpful to me. So anyway, so yes, my story is real. I think the majority of them, from my understanding, were from true stories.
And touching on Tanya's, if I may, one of the changes I had to make, the gentleman that the story came from, he was actually infantry. But because I gave that monologue to Tanya, I made her an MP because at that time, females were not allowed to be in the infantry. So the closest thing that they could do to combat was MP. The unit I gave that designated to her was the 322nd MP Battalion. That does not exist. I completely made that name up because I had to come up with something that she would, why she would be in a combat zone.
Right.
Like I said, females weren't allowed in combat until after we pulled out of Iraq. So I had to come up with something. So I literally did make up that one unit, the 322nd MP Battalion. So if you're looking for the 322nd MP Battalion, it doesn't exist.
I was there. I was there in that battalion.
Andy, did you
want to talk? I'm sorry, Kevin.
Did you get was it hard, when you were playing, your part, was it hard on you? Because you actually had it happen, so.
Yeah, so even writing this, and I wrote this a while ago without the monologues. I was just never going to do it. The one thing that motivated me to do this over the years, I've had a lot of friends of mine that have all killed themselves due to PTSD. It sucks, but you just come to understand that this happens. Yeah, it's a bad way to put it, but but in February, I had two of my brothers I served with in Iraq kill themselves 2 weeks from each other. And so as the group is healing from one, we had another one happen, and I said, enough is enough. I have to do something. And as an actor, we have an obligation to tell stories to get people to try and understand. What happened though is I actually I wrote it without the monologues, and I think Tanya, being one of the actresses, she was probably wondering when she's going to get her monologue, because I didn't give them out until 2 weeks later. And the reason why is because I had to type these out, and whether it was a story that was given to me or if it was one of mine, it still hurt, because I have my own experience that from Tanya's monologue where she had to deal with a child. I have my own experiences from that. Mm-hmm. So regardless of if it was my story or somebody else's, I can definitely relate. So it's very difficult to put them down onto paper. So when I finally did it, I sent it off. Here's a quick little note. When you watch the movie, when it comes down to my character, that entire 3-4 minutes between me and Patrick was all improv, because I did not write mine down. I was already pretty emotional over writing down the other three that I just said, well, I'll just do it from memory. So from the time I started talking until we ended the scene, that's 100% all improv.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very emotional. Listening to everybody's monologues was emotional, but really you could feel Danny's feelings. You could feel the tension and the struggle. You could definitely feel it. I said, we had Danny had asked for us to talk a little bit, I guess last week, about our experience on this film. And I said, and I mean this, whenever I see the film, that those emotions from my monologue are pulled forward, and my emotional, my mental and physically state, I start feeling stressed out. Just seeing my monologue and the rough cuts and stuff like that, it's like I can relate in a tiny way to what PTSD must be, because I get a tiny snippet of that just watching my monologue, and feeling those emotions come rushing back just from me trying to make it real in my own head for that particular monologue. So Danny, this is real stuff, and it's hard. It's hard to watch. It's hard.
Yeah.
So.
Kevin, before we get too deep, do you want to let Clint and John and Emma introduce themselves real quick?
Yes. Right.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey, I'm John Chambers. I play, I think the character is called Dr. Patel now.
Yeah, I just call him the bureaucrat.
The bureaucrat. Essentially, basically the VA administrator that is, facilitating the setting up the Zoom call with the therapist and everything, and saying, hey, this is your new assignment. We're doing this over Zoom. And it was a great character to play. Always love working with Danny and of course my partner here, Clint McCommon, who was the DP on it. And so it was great, really enjoyed it. And I think we've all experienced doctors or administrators with burnout, and that are just emotionless about a situation. And Danny just was cranked that up to not just 11 but 111. And
his notes, please care less.
Yeah,
care less.
That was the note. He's like,
yeah.
less,
You seem too nice.
yeah. So
no eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, no eye contact. And like to the point that he was like, that's just too much. I was like, I looked at him 5 times. He's like, yeah, bring it down to 3. Bring it down to 3. And then after 3, he's like, I caught a glance in there. I was like, I can't even glance. I said 3. You get 3. Pick where you want them.
I feel like that's a real person too that he's probably experienced or some other people in healthcare experience. So, all right. Well, yeah. My name is Clint McCommon. I did the camera work as well as I've been editing on it since we finished it. We're almost done. We were ready for turning on Friday.
If y'all were here at the studio, all you would hear is sound design today, like blasting through the speakers.
Yeah. We love our stuff we do movie level. So luckily we have a big sound system at the studio. So I'm trying to make it as close to right as possible. And still sound like a Zoom call. So it needs to sound like a Zoom call, but sound like a good Zoom call.
Zoom, yeah.
Emma, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So, hi, my name is Emma Natalia.
But for me,
Oh.
I think he was just talking. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So my name's Emma Natalia. I sung the theme song, and I did watch the film a few times before I started writing because I really wanted to be able to connect with the film in my writing. And every single time I watched it, I was so choked up seeing, all of the different stories because this does resonate with me. My dad was in the Army, and I have a lot of family members that are in the Navy, and it really just hit me because I think it's crazy that my family could be going through stuff like this, and I have no clue what it's like. I'm 16 years old, and I just think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so honored to be able to have sung the theme song for this. So thank you so much, Danny.
Yeah, thank you.
It's
You did a great job.
Yeah, it's awesome. It truly is. Gives me chill bumps when I hear it along with the film.
Thank you so much.
I really liked the song when I heard it. Danny sent me your little part, that wasn't the video, but it was the music part.
Right.
Great.
But I got the part of it. I was like, I loved it.
Thank you so much.
I would like to say, guys, like one of the things that I'm so happy about Danny putting this thing together is so many people in this film either are part of the military or were a part of the military or are connected to the military in somehow, in some way, through close family, like close family or otherwise. I think that does bring a beautiful authenticity to it. And just like the stories being that those are deriving from real moments in someone's lives and real experiences that people either had or could have had. And I think that's something that's beautiful. And I think that does bring a tear to everyone's eye by the end of the film.
Yeah. So when I watch it, I try to have a goal of trying to get further into the film without breaking down. It's pretty emotional.
It's hard.
It is.
It's hard not to.
I can only imagine, like, if I had to go on and share my story like that, it would be hard for me every time, So I think it's great that you guys did this film because it shows the other side. We see all these films where people go and they fight and then, they're in the military and we see what they go through, but we don't see what they go through when they get back. And that's all often a worse battle than they faced when they were fighting.
Yeah, that was so this film actually has two parts to it. It's showing the civilians what we had to go through, and they start to get an idea. The other part is letting the veterans know it's okay to ask for help. Now, Clint will he'll tell you just like I will. When I was in, if you tried asking for help, you were denied reenlistment, denied promotion, denied any favorable actions. Now, a commander could interpret favorable action as taking leave, personal leave. and you went through you lost your clearance, that's automatic. You weren't allowed to have a weapon. No one wanted to work with you because they thought that you were mentally unstable. And this is, I hear it's gotten better. As of 2010, they stopped taking away your clearance. But, even though they would tell you you're not being punished, it really kind of feels like a punishment,
Right.
And you were never, you were looked down upon. And now I hear that it's gotten a lot better and that they're actually encouraging soldiers and veterans to come out and talk about their problems and try and, deal with it. Most of y'all know that 22 veterans each day kill themselves due to PTSD. We've lost more veterans from suicide than have died in both Iraq and Afghanistan combined.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's definitely a really prevalent issue that is really only, I feel, coming to light because when I was I served for 5 years and I was in Afghanistan for a year, and I actually was with the infantry guys and went through what they went through. And they're just kind of conditioned, you just see this stuff and okay, well, you had your time to be sad about it, then we need to pack all that back inside you and let's keep going. We got a job to do. We can't keep being sad because then other people are going to die. So it was kind of like, okay, you get your time to grieve. Okay, it's time to get back to work. And then it never gets handled. Like you never get to decompress because you're always just going. So it is a little bit easier when you get back, but they still, that, oh, quit being a pussy, you're fine. And we all went through the same thing. We're all fine. And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed when, like you said, you have to go about your business. You only get that short, small snippet of time to ponder about what just happened, but then you have to move on because you have so much more to do. But then there's no pickup later on. When do you get to talk about it? When do you get to is it that evening or whenever you're back, in a safe zone? When do you ever get to let it out and get past it, get through it? Apparently that never happened for a long time. People it wasn't addressed. So now, like Danny said, it's becoming more upfront that people are dealing with it now.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Well, I think with me, it's the mental conditioning that if you show any sort of emotion, you're weak. And I told Tanya this story just to try and get her the idea of what it's like is when I lost a friend of mine in Korea, when I was stationed in Korea. I did 18 months in Area 1. He was on his way to the airport to return back to Korea. He was home on leave and he got hit by a drunk driver and killed. I didn't know this. And then one day, in formation, they said, well, we need an NCO to work the memorial service for an NCO. I said, well, yeah, I'll do it. I volunteered. I didn't know until we got to the memorial service that it was a very good friend of mine, Sergeant Mark Mason Garcia. So I had to go through the entire memorial service. And if you've never been to a military memorial service, the worst part is the very last thing they do is they do a roll call. They'll call 3 people, and then they call the deceased person's name, and they call it 3 times. And then after they say, call it the 3rd time, somebody stands up and says, First Sergeant, that person no longer in formation. And then they play taps. And it's very hard to get through that without crying.
Yeah.
So I'm working this memorial service, and I find out at the memorial service that this friend, and I wasn't allowed to cry. I wasn't allowed to be emotional. So after the memorial service, the unit marched down one way, and I deliberately went another way to be by myself so I can, let out my emotions so no one saw me. And that's just the conditioning that we had at the time, is that if you have emotions, you're weak. And that's how instilled that was into all of us and into me. So yeah, it's tough sometimes.
Definitely.
Hey,
That's
Dan.
one thing that we've gone through one too many times. So I understand how hard that is to go through a memorial service. So
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, how long did it take y'all to record the movie, like the whole thing?
So actually, this had to be the shortest movie. We started at like 9 o'clock Saturday, and I think we were done by noon for the. So what I did is the way they keep referring to a Zoom call. That's what you see during the counseling session, is what you're looking at right now. That's what half the movie looks like. So I think it was about 3 hours, and it's done within 5 takes. We did the same thing 5 times, but they're all one long take. We didn't do any cuts. And then Clint, John, how long did we take doing John and Patrick's scene? It was about 3 or 4 hours, huh?
Yeah. Not long.
Yeah, except for John with the eye contact, we did it a lot faster.
Yeah, thanks.
So this is like the shortest, because usually for a 15-minute film, it usually takes about 40 hours to film. But this one we did, and I think like 8.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, well, we did a good job of only now having to move locations. We shot all the Zoom calls, therapy session in one location. We shot John and Patrick scenes in one location, and then we shot the ending at one location. So it was always just one setup, basically, for his location. So that made it a lot simpler.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we had a building that looked like 5 different locations, so we could play off the fact that there was like 5 different locations.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
Hollywooded it.
cool.
and plus this time I'm not hanging 30 feet in the air, Clint.
Yes. Yeah,
Fact.
we didn't, doing 17 test stunts.
That's one of my films that I did a couple years ago. I'm actually hanging 30 feet in the air by one hand. So it's,
Wow.
Crazy. Wow. Was it all filmed in Shreveport or?
yeah. So with Louisiana Film Prize, you have to film the film here in Shreveport. So yeah, we filmed everything in Shreveport, and we had to check in, let them know, hey, we give them a list of where we're going to be at what time, because they will stop in periodically and just surprise you. So yeah, so everything was filmed here in Shreveport.
Oh, that's awesome.
So when are we going to get to see it? I know you guys have a lot of things you have to do, and you submitted it to the film festival. So when will it be available for public?
So yeah, that's actually a great question. We're not allowed to show it to anybody outside the cast and crew until after it premieres at the Louisiana Film Prize Film Festival, which is October 2nd and 3rd. Well, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. The 3rd, I believe, is a Sunday, and that's going to be the award ceremony. The interesting thing about this is the audience gets to vote on best actor, best actress, and best film. And so even if you have listeners that want to see this film, they can still see it even if they're not in Shreveport, because they can go online to prizefest.org and actually buy an online ticket, and they can still vote just as well. So the more people that watch this, the more people that vote for our movie, more chance we have to win. So yeah, but after that, after it's been premiered, there's going to be a longer version of this. We had to break this down to 15 minutes, which is actually extremely hard, and Clint did an amazing job. But we're gonna, after this premieres, we're gonna have a longer version where the scene with John and Patrick, where it actually goes into detail about, and John did awesome playing this role. He's just his character is just so, burned out that when I said, like they mentioned, I kept on telling John to stop looking at Patrick, because I wanted him just working at his computer, eating, no eye contact. He's just he's there and then he's gone, and John did awesome at that. And that's a real important scene to kind of show and it might seem like I'm trying to bash the VA. I'm not bashing the VA. The VA is doing everything they can with what they have. The problem is that they don't have anything. You know, I mean, they get
Right.
their every year, but yet they have more soldiers coming back. You know, so it's difficult. The VA has a very, very hard job.
Right. And they have a huge caseload. So
Yes.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, just to hit up on that real quick. When I first got to the VA in 2004, after I got honorably discharged, I got assigned my first doctor. Okay, cool. He checks me out. Boom. I get a letter in the mail like a month or two later saying, hey, you know, we switched doctors. You're now part of the red team. I said, okay, cool. Last year, I ran into my first doctor and we were talking. He goes, do you know why they switched you? I said, no. He goes, because at that time I had 1,800 patients.
Wow.
Yeah, 1,800 dedicated patients. That's 1,800 different injuries, 1,800 different personalities, 1,800 different medications. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. And that's what he's doing day in, day out for 8, 9 hours a day.
And just have more and more coming back every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he's got to be emotional hearing all of this, seeing these people, those 1,800 people that are struggling and that he's trying to help. I mean, that in itself is emotionally draining.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
they probably put up a front just like you had to do. You just put a wall up and you just do your job. And so that's what he was doing. He was just at that computer like, oh yeah, and here's such and such. I mean, I noticed that when I watched, I was like, he's just so going through the motions. It's his job. This is what I do every day, day in, day out, Whereas Patrick Curtin's, part, he was much more engaged with what he was seeing. So it was a nice play off of each other there that worked really well.
Yeah, they did. John, you guys did a great job on that, man. Seriously.
Thanks. And I mean, I got to give a lot to Patrick too, because 90% or more of an actor's job is listening and reacting to things. And he was engaged with those stories. And I think that, it's one of Patrick's greatest roles. I really do. I've seen Patrick act for years and years and years now.
Sure.
I think that he really nailed this one, and that you really wrote the role. It felt like you wrote the role for him.
Yeah.
And I hate that he's not on the Zoom meeting because he's an amazing actor and a great guy. And I think that he really took it to another level.
Yeah. Well, so when I write this stuff, I'll picture what I want the character to look like out of the the actors and actresses I know that I have contact with. So when I came up with Patrick's character, I'm like, that's Patrick Curtin right there. So luckily enough, I was able to like, hey Patrick, I got a part for you, and so luckily enough, we were able to get it, because I don't think I could have done that without Patrick. He's one of those that it had to be him in that role, and he did a great job. Emma, let me ask you a question. With the song, now you wrote that song, correct?
Yes, I wrote that song with a co-writer of mine.
Now, yeah, and so now the reason why I like this song is because you talk. The song is called "The Place to Fall," and how I interpreted that was that a place to fall, meaning some sort of support from the person that you're singing to. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I knew that there were many different directions that I could go with for the song, and I really sat and just thought about it after watching the film, and I just thought, how can this tie everything together? And then I was thinking, when these veterans come back and they're going through their traumas, and they have PTSD and they're struggling with the pictures in their mind, like the lyric, they need somebody and they feel alone, and I can only imagine how you feel. Um, and when I was sitting down and I was writing it, I had finished a meeting with my co-writer, and I just started crying because when I was reading over the lyrics, I was like, that's crazy that that's what these people go through, to protect us. And I just think it's, I really just thank y'all for, your service and for everything that you've done for.
Thank you. You know, I'm glad that you caught the part about, so in the movie, we all kind of are a little standoff with Patrick, the counselor, because he didn't serve. And the idea of the movie is that, and why it's called We Got Your Six, is it's the veterans that help each other. And that is true to this day is, when a veteran needs help, he doesn't call the counselor, he doesn't call the hotline. That's why they don't work. We call each other, So I'm glad that you got that out because of the film, because I could see that influence on the song.
Right. And another, a few lines that I had come up with is, I'm just tortured by the way you can make it through the day, but for me, it really ain't the same. And those lines, when I came up with them, and I pieced them together, I just really thought, I put myself in a position as much as I could, by watching the film, that, you come home and you feel just awful and you're dealing with everything, and then you see people just going about their day and they're okay, and everyone tries to sympathize, and try to put them in your shoes, but I'm sure you really don't know unless you're in those shoes. And that's why I felt that was very powerful, for me to add in there, and I just really thought that, it would tie things together in a way.
Yeah, you did a great job on it. You really did.
Thank you so much.
It was an awesome song. I liked it.
Thank you. I enjoyed writing it for this cause, and that it's so that we can, raise awareness for what, our veterans go through.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that I could be a part of this.
A quick question on that, Emma, because the listeners they probably haven't heard the song yet. Is there a place that they can go to download it, like on iTunes or something?
Right. Okay. So that hasn't been released on, all platforms yet, but that will be happening very, very soon. A link to the song is linked on my Facebook, which is Emma Natalia Official. And there's also a link on my Instagram, which is also Emma Natalia Official, if you would like to hear it.
Awesome.
I think I shared that on my Facebook page as well. Because I think, Danny, you sent that link to us, and then I shared it too. So it's good.
I think Greg might be joining us soon. I think Greg Washington might be joining us soon. He just texted a minute ago asking if we're still on. So hopefully Greg can come on and give us some context as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I would like to have the link for where people can go, because I know a lot of people listen to us that are not in the Shreveport area, so that they can go and be able to watch the film and vote, like you were saying, at the festival, and then also a link to the song that we can share on our page. So
I'll let me send that to you right now. I think I got you on Facebook. Yep.
yes, sir.
There you are.
Actually, the film, I think the screenings start, Danny, on September 30th. So there's the 30th, the 1st, and the 2nd of October to actually see the films. I don't know if you can see them on the 3rd, because that's the day of the awards, right?
Right, that is correct. So yeah, that is correct, is that they do start on the 30th, but it's actually the evening of the 30th. I think it's like they start at 8 p.m. on the 30th, and they only go to midnight. And it's only one screening, and that's usually for the filmmakers that they have priority on that. So yeah, but you are correct that they, if there's not that many people there, which with social distancing now, we don't know how it's going to turn out. But you might be able to get in on the night of the 30th and actually check out the movies. But if not, you can definitely start watching them all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then you can watch them online. Sophie, I just sent you that link.
Okay, great.
Hey, Danny, is the awards in Shreveport or is it somewhere else like New Orleans or?
No, it is in Shreveport, and that's also going to be streamed live. So you'll get to watch in real time, you know, who all got Best Actor, Best Actress, top 7 films, and then the prize winner, which I have already discussed. Speaking of grand prize, after I pay out my cast and crew, my agent, I'll be taking the rest of the money and donating it to Woody's Home for Vets that deals with veterans due to PTSD, and every Warrior Network, which is also another local charity that deals with veteran suicide due to PTSD.
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely put all this on our pages too, the podcast
Yeah.
pages, and everything.
Yeah. And it's if you go to the Facebook page, which is called "We Got Your Sixth Short Film," or they can hit me up and ask me for a link to it, and I can do that. You'll be able to hear Emma's song there too.
Okay, cool.
So, Clint, how hard was this to actually edit? Even though it was shot pretty easily, how hard was it to actually edit? Because I know it's being done differently. On as a Zoom call.
Well, I mean, in me, it's basically one story, and
Yeah.
each person had their master take.
Right.
But because we shot under time, so we had visual takes for each actor, but it didn't always congruent with the best performance of the person. So there was a little bit of, it's more time consuming than difficulty. And then the hardest part was actually the story is probably 17 to 18 minutes long, like the best version of it, and we had to get down to 15 or less. And so there's a couple of moments I think we could, like you said, the scene with John, the ending, that it'll make it like a lot smoother. But I think overall the hardest part was dealing with the actual story itself. Shooting it was tough for everybody, just going through that much emotion, as well as then Danny had this.
So this is
Greg
Greg
watch it
Washington.
over and over again, and the thing is, it's a fictional story.
Hey, Greg, you want to introduce yourself? Talk a little bit about your character on the film.
Sure.
It's said it's a
My
fictional
name's
story.
Greg
You know these things. I think.
Washington. I play one of the characters in the film who is suffering from PTSD due to, war. I feel like my character is a little bit more, trying to self-medicate through his issues. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun.
Awesome.
It was very emotional to do the scenes over, because we would go through the whole thing. 5 times, didn't we, Danny? Yeah. So for me, and I'm sure for everybody else, I mean, you go through your story, but you gotta think about it as the first time that you're telling it to this new doctor, this new counselor, and these other people that are there too. So every time, it's very emotional. It's very emotional. I'm telling you, I would get choked up, like I mean, just choked up.
Yeah.
and then you'd have to do it again. And so you'd have to draw from, okay, let me get that emotion back. I don't, because you don't want to, because I mean, I walked out of there somewhat pleased, glad, because I think Danny was happy with what he had seen. But I had a migraine when I got in the car. I was like, oh my God, I need a flipping drink and some Tylenol or something, just from playing the part 5 times, over and over again, 5 times. And yet again, the people that struggle with these stories for real, they play this over and over 5,000 times, in their heads. No wonder they are out drinking or struggling and having to self-medicate, like Greg's, there's a scene where Greg's like pouring alcohol into a cup, like underneath the table. I mean, I can see why in that tiny little 5-take time that we had to do it.
Yeah.
If it made that much of an impression on me, I'm telling y'all, it let me know how much it just affects people who truly deal with it.
So I got a quick question for Tanya and Greg, because you guys, y'all did not hear each other's story the first time. You didn't know because it wasn't in the script. So did that affect, like, hearing Greg's story, and then did hearing each other's story for the first time affect your character on set?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, Greg, you had said something about my story, and because you've dealt with this stuff before, and right? Am I correct? And you, like Danny was saying, you just put up a wall. So even when I was telling my story, you had said, I'm thinking, well, to hell with this. I can't deal with this situation with this child. I've got this over here that your thoughts on it were interesting from a different vantage point than me as just a civilian.
Yeah. I put a little bit of my character in it, where my character understood the idea of, what you saw was hard, but suck it up, get the job done.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to kind of still show that, like, that's still there. The idea of giving a shit about, oh my God, it was a little kid. It was like, yeah, after a while, they're all the same. Which was hard, but it was really nice to project that and really get out of the idea of, I don't care.
I agree. It was hard. It was hard to hear that. But like you said, it put it a bit more into perspective. That's where you're coming from. But for me to hear you say that, I was like, is this really true? I mean, this doesn't bother him at all. I am torn up about this. And then, but like you said, I mean, that's what you do.
Well, with with Tanya's story, y'all, she had to listen to this guy. His name is Stephen Eugene. He talked about 45 minutes. Isn't that right, Tanya, about that?
Well, I had a small time frame of the story. I don't remember it being quite that long, but he told the whole story, and you could see the emotion and then the disappearing of it.
Right.
It would come forward and go back, and come forward and go back. But you saw the struggle even with him telling the story on video. Just so good for me to see.
And the reason why I was actually, at first I told Terrence that was going to be his monologue, and you were going to do the monologue I gave Terrence. But then I thought about it, and I said, well, because this deals with the kid, I think a female playing this role, dealing with the child can really give me more emotion that I was looking for. You did an awesome job. Both of you guys did a really great job. Greg, he did, even with the little things that Greg added, it really made his character and the movie pop a lot. I really enjoyed it.
I agree. I had to try to imagine. I have a grandson that's 6 years old, and so I was thinking about, what can I for Tanya's mind, put into this story in my head, telling this story that's going to make me feel a snippet of what this person may feel. So I kept imagining my grandson in a way out there, which was helpful to me to feel that emotion come through because it meant something to me, more so than just the story, just tell a story.
Right. Well, I'm definitely excited to check it out.
That's
Me too.
good.
I'm absolutely ready to see it when it comes out.
Good. Well,
Well, I appreciate you guys all coming on today and talking to us about it. And hopefully we can get y'all a bunch of good votes.
Thank you.
Hope so. Hope
Thank
so.
you.
Thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate it.
No
Yeah, I
problem.
We need to have you back on after y'all win all the awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we after this, we're going to work on the longer version that has the one scene. And John, I can't stress this enough. You guys really killed that scene, man. Y'all did awesome, and it really kind of ties us. I hated cutting it, but I had to cut it.
It's okay. I was the one who gave the note. You need to cut my scene down. So it's fine.
But
I will say before we go, I have to say that like one of the things that I love about this film, and I got to give some credit to Clint on this, is how he shot this. Like you feel so intimate with it, and like it feels like you're a part of that Zoom call and that you're connecting with them. And it's just it's almost it's claustrophobic at times. It's also like just and then very open at other times. Like it's beautiful in that regard. I had to throw that in there before we go.
I'll give you your money afterwards. for
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
well,
Thanks everyone for
Yes. Thank
good
you
seeing
so
everyone in
much.
person. So everyone's faces
Yes, thank
again.
y'all for coming on.
absolutely. Thank you very much for having me again. It was great.
thank you, Danny, too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
thank you, everyone.
you so much.
I'm kind
Yeah.
of having PTSD about the whole Zoom experience right now.
We'll make sure we share all the links, and we look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Take care, y'all. Bye. Now how you turn this off.